Hi everyone, in this second video in the series we're going to look at the basics of the site layout. First of all, we're going to use this copy of the site overall layout, the outline for the site, and we're going to create another layer. Notice that the other layers that were there earlier have now disappeared since we used the purge tool, but GA site lines, I guess that'll do as an idea for now, and we're just going to leave that as a blue layer, blue line, just to come up with a little contrast with what is around. I should have made that layer current. And if we were to draw a line from this point and pick up the perpendicular, so holding down Shift and right click, going to perpendicular, we can see that that angle isn't really going to sit very well in terms of where the two roads are going to come through. So let's delete that and just use a temporary line over the top, tracing over the top of that line, and then we can move it like so, and then we can offset that, not offset, extend that line down to the bottom end of the site. Now, if you remember from before, we did discuss the need for a footpath around the outside of the site. So a minimum of 1.5 meters or maybe 2 meters, 2000 millimeters is recommended there. So I'm going to temporarily offset that outline and then just trace over the top of these two lines like so. And then if I delete that line and use the extend tool, that shows us the position of the footpath. Now what I'm going to do is just copy that other line, make sure that we're picking up endpoints here rather than anything else. Hopefully those lines are roughly parallel. So if we look at that, this is replicating roughly what was on the original layout I provided. 11.8 or 11.9 meters is not going to be enough. So let's see how that's going to work out. If we offset by, we could make the footpath in the internal of the site 1500. And then the road width is 5500. And then the footpath on the other side, 1.5 meters again. So let's do a distance at this stage. So we've picked up to 16.3. That's pretty good. Let's do the same for the middle of the site. That's 29. So half of that, that's pretty decent. And at this end of the site, 28, almost 29 meters. So that's pretty close to being regular in terms of the divide. Having said that, I do just realize that I haven't used the correct distances here. So 1.5, 5.5. Yeah, I think I typed that wrong. So offset again 5500. And then 1,500. Let's see what that looks like. So 30 meters. Guess debatably this part could be worked out a little bit differently in the middle just to provide a little bit more space there. So let's move it even by 1.5 meters, see what this difference that makes. That is 29. It is just a case of playing about with it until you're happy. I'm going to run with that. You can always work out if you want something slightly different. So just be careful when you're trimming lines. Sometimes it will leave little straggly bits behind depending on what way things have happened. Let's use the extend tool to extend things as necessary here. Okay, So that's dividing the site up reasonably well at this stage. Now there is a strip here that's maybe not properly utilised, whether that is made into a wider footpath or whether you put planting or something there. That is a distinct option in terms of what you may wish to do. So let's draw a temporary line here that'll help us divide this part of the site maybe in some way. That's not going to help. Let's try copying the line. Just going to use the nearest point here. Set it down there. Trim it. So what we can do now is provide a midpoint from that line. Whether you have that going as a perpendicular or whatever way, I guess is up to you. If you want to have it at an accurate right angle to the existing line there, we can actually copy that and rotate it by 90. And we'll just move that to the midpoint. And then again, we can draw a temporary line here. Let's trim. No, that's not trim, just in case it moves it slightly. So copy from here to there. If we put another temporary line in, that will allow us to copy another version of that line down. Make sure we're lifting it from the correct point there. And then we'll delete those temporary lines and trim off what we don't need. There's the footpath line there. So delete that temporary line as well. Basically, what we need to do is just repeat the process for the other parts of the site. So again, just to make sure these lines are going to be in the right area, I'm going to copy that down here. Trim. That didn't copy the way I thought it would. What happened there? Copy from the endpoint to the endpoint. That looks better. So assuming these lines are hopefully parallel, we can copy that over to the midpoint. Again, we'll just draw two temporary lines, making sure we're drawing that accurately. So copy, and then we can use the extend tool. And then it'll be a similar process for this bottom end of the site, bearing in mind we can just use a perpendicular line for that one. Let's copy the line just to get it accurately here in this case. We can trim it. Copy that one. Make sure it's from the correct point though. Let's copy it from the intersection to the midpoint. Sometimes it's better just to, where did that temporary line go? Didn't go to the right spot. No, there is no extra line in there. Maybe I undid that. So let's copy from the midpoint there. Just with the shape of the site, sometimes you do end up with little gaps here, so just double check everything is drawn properly and accurately. We definitely need to trim out the footpath lines here. Bottom end of the site, so it's up to each team whether you wish to make this maybe an apartment block here just to fill in two parts of the site, whether you maybe go for a line. So we'll go mid between 2 points here and draw a line in there. That would make it quite tight for this bottom one. It may work, it may not. Alternatively, you might want to look at splitting the site a different way. It's really up to each team, I suppose. So we'll leave it just like that at this stage. That's the overall layout of the site.